Hi guys, welcome back.
Hi, everyone.
What's up?
Here we are again.
We're recording this before, but technically when this is releasing, it's the last day of the 2025 year.
Oh, yes.
Like, what a year it's been. It's so fun.
Happy New Year, almost.
Yeah, happy almost New Year, guys. So we're here for part 5 of Life is Messy. And we are reading from pages about 140 to about 170. I'm going to start with my section that really spoke to me. This part was different for me. It wasn't as dark, but it was at the same time deep. Like you could see the light coming out from the darkness that he kind of started with. But he really makes a point, I feel like, to include really important parts of healing. Like as you're coming out of the darkness into the light, there are some points that you really need to address when you're in the healing process. And for me, that section was forgiveness. So I just want to share a lot of what he said. First, he just starts off by saying that there's really no path forward without forgiveness. And I think that's something that we've spoken of on here, we've learned about for a while now, is that forgiveness is like the ultimate freedom in terms of healing. And I think the part that really, struck me right away is that he said, first of all, he's like, I'm not good at it. I won't pretend that I am, but still I try and I struggle to forgive. And I think that's something that we, again, have all said and struggle with. I mean, I know I struggle to forgive, even if I pretend like I do, I'm still probably holding that grudge. But he says that what he finds humbling on page 163, what I find humbling is that it is my need to forgive, not their need to be forgiven. And it's like forgiveness has something to do with the other person, but really it's just an inside job. It's an inside healing of your heart. It's an inside, release of whatever thing that you're really holding on to. And he said, the person could be long gone and no longer a part of my life. He may not have even a thought of me in years. The need is mine, and I find it healthy to remember that. The spirit is willing, but my wounded heart holds on to the hurt. It doesn't realize it is holding on to poison. The man in me understands, but the little boy in me is still paralyzed by the injuries.
Oh my God. Wow. I can't even believe how amazing that part is.
Yeah, just the man in me understands. So it's your head knowledge, okay, I understand the situation. I understand that unforgiveness is festering and poison in my body, but the little boy in me can't move.
No, because the little boy in you or the little girl is hurt. And that hurt is what sticks to us. It's forgiveness, I understand, and he's 1,000% right. But getting there is so hard, but I think it's so worth it. But I love the way he speaks on that.
I'm also going to read the prayer that he wrote. He said, when I'm struggling to forgive, this is my prayer. This is what I ask God. Spirit of God, at this time, I am unable or unwilling to forgive. I know not which. Fill me with the wisdom of forgiveness. Bring me to the beautiful truth that forgiving others is part of my own healing. Cleanse me of the poison of unforgiveness. Shine light so I can see how unforgiveness affects my physical, emotional, and spiritual health. Today, I am unwilling or unable to forgive. I know not which. Just give me the desire to forgive. Just the desire. This is all I ask today. Give me the desire to forgive, for I know, trust, and believe that if you place the desire to forgive firmly in my heart, that desire will grow and the day will come when I am both willing and able to forgive.
I think my favorite part about that is that he is fully admitting in that prayer, I am not there. I am not there today. I might not be there tomorrow, but I'm open to the possibility. I'm open to the desire to forgive, but I just don't have it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things that I feel like I'm so famous for in my own world is the thought of like forgiveness means you're a good person. Forgiveness means you're a good Christian. And I think that pretending to forgive is just a bypass. Like you're spiritually bypassing to be a good girl, to be a good human. And really, there's no honesty in that. Like I've spoken of it on this before, and I'll say it again. I could remember knowing, like, as a good person, as a good Christian, I'm supposed to forgive here. And, I don't hate this person, but I don't like them. And the truth is, I was hating and I wasn't forgiving. And when God kind of put that truth to me and was like, you don't forgive. And I was like, and I had the knowledge that he loved me anyway. I think that opened the door to my heart to be more willing to forgive. But anybody who says forgiveness when you've been so badly wounded by other people who you love, who you trust, who you think are your people, anybody who says that forgiveness is easy in that situation is just not telling the truth, because it is so hard.
I wanted to say, it's almost like when you forgive, and how he talks about how it's like, it's in your head, but it's not in your heart. It's almost like going through the motions. It's how sometimes we go through every day. It's like you do it because you're almost a robot. It's like, you have to, but there's no heart in it. It's like you're doing what you're programmed to. And if you try to forgive like that, it's just going to fester. That's something, it's like the emotions. You can't leave a customer unattended. I hate to say it, but that's just how it is. It's like,
so true.
You just got to acknowledge it. Acknowledge that you aren't really happy with the person, and work it out from there. It's almost like you're not just going to, have you ever, obviously I'm going to assume you guys have double knotted shoes before. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like when you try to pull on the end string, like how you do when you try to untie regular shoes, it doesn't come out. Mm-hmm. And where I'm going with that, it's like there's different levels of forgiveness. So it's almost like there's one level where it's like, a normal knot, and you pull it and it's able to come undone and resolved easily. And that's usually from the people that we're not too close with. But when it's the people we're close with, it's like, double knotted, triple knotted sometimes, if that's even possible with shoes. But in this case, it is with humans. But it's like there has to be different ways you have to maneuver to get the actual shoelaces to be free.
That is like that analogy. I mean, wow. Because it's true. Because I think the more that person means to you that you have to forgive, the harder the knot is to become undone. And knots, I'm thinking of jewelry. Like I'm like that little tiny necklace has 1,000 little. I'm like, I'm never getting this out. You pull out your long necklace and it's in a ball like this big, and you're like, it's never coming out. But if you take the time to one by one undo it, just like you said, it is possible. It's possible for all of those knots to become undone. And I'm even thinking of like a chain, it's not just one knot. It's not usually just one person you have to forgive. It's probably many people. And those people, those knots are all different sizes and all different shapes, and come undone when you're willing and when you're ready. And you can't pretend. I hate when people say like, oh, I'm over it. I'm like, liar. Like, you're not. Like, maybe you are, but like, are you really? And no offense to anybody that says that, but I'm just like, I think the honesty and like, no, I don't forgive that person yet. And, maybe I don't tell everybody I don't forgive that person yet, but I at least am honest with myself and hopefully like my closest people around me and God. But it's like, yeah, I think there's a book. I can't remember who the author is, but I'm like seeing the cover of it. It's like, I think it's called Everybody Needs to Forgive Somebody. I don't know, but it's like yes, everybody does need to forgive at least one person.
Yes. And it's so hard to do. The illusion of like, oh, I've forgiven everybody in my life. I'm sorry. Like maybe you have, but I just know my own self. It reminds me. So this one priest one time, he was one of like my favorite priests because I think I liked him so much because of his sarcasm. And I'll never forget it. He was giving a homily on, forgive those who trespass against us. And he was really telling us the great theology on forgiveness and how it heals you and it makes you feel better. And you're not, and he went into the whole poison description and he did it all. And then this was my favorite part. He goes, but now let me just tell you from a human perspective, I am the worst. He's like, yes, I am standing up here on this altar telling you right now that I am the absolute worst. He's like, I have a book and it has the names of the people in it who betrayed me. And I'm like, unforgiven. He's like, he goes, I'm being a little bit like, silly here right now. But the reality is that I'm just like you. I have a hard time forgiving. And he's like, I have a list. I actually have a list. He's like, and I've been working on it. I'm working on my list. He's like, and it's taking me a long time, but I'm working on it. And if you can say I'm working on it, then that's what God needs to hear. Mm-hmm. And that's what you need to hear for your own sense of like freedom and just being able to move forward. Because we all know it's true. For unforgiveness hurts us more than it hurts anybody else. It's like that necklace.
Yeah.
It's so hard to get those knots out.
And he said too, like physical, emotional, and spiritual reactions happen from unforgiveness.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think it's so easy to say emotional or relationships are affected by it, but we don't realize also like how our physical bodies react to unforgiveness or even our spiritual. Mm-hmm. And like I also thought of too, if you're like a loyal person, I'm a bit of a loyal person. So if someone hurts somebody I love, I'm like, I probably need to forgive a lot of people for that. But it's like when there's a detachment, it's like you kind of pass it by. But then when you realize like I'm looking at that person not very nicely and I'm not thinking very nice things when they walk by me or whatever. And it's, there's a lot of people.
And I feel like when the people who you need to forgive, who you don't want to, I'm not kidding. I feel like they're always in my face.
Yes.
As soon as there's that one person who I'm like, oh, like, and I'll be like, Marissa, I can't even take it. Like, and I am people who know me know I am very honest about it when I'm like in that mode of like, I can't stand this person. And then sure enough, they're in my face. Like it's almost like God's playing tricks on me.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus, is this like some type of a test that you're giving me here? And eventually we get past it. Eventually we learn, but it's hard work. Forgiveness is hard work. And I think we're all like that priest. And I think we all have our lists, you know?
And I just want to say before James, you tell us to love stronger, don't be afraid of forgiveness either. Forgiveness doesn't mean allowance. Forgiveness doesn't mean acceptance of what that person did. Forgiveness is just the freedom in your own heart to move forward in a way that's not leaving you stuck.
Perfect.
Coincidentally, I find mercy, tying it into love, of course. I find that mercy and forgiveness are the purest forms. Well, are some of the purest forms of love. It is. I just find it to be like when you have someone, at your knees or not even at your knees, and you're managing to forgive them, managing to give them mercy, you're also giving yourself mercy. Mm-hmm. It's almost like, I don't want to bring up the like thing of a samurai, but it's almost like that's how they kind of were back in the day. They would like use the swords on each other and stuff, and that's how they would get, that was how they were seen almost. That was their good send-off in a way. And it's almost like that was their mercy. Their mercy was through death, coincidentally. And I find that we don't typically view death as mercy. And it's like, maybe that is the purest form of forgiveness, is letting go. I mean, you see it in death. You see people who typically wouldn't like a person when they die. You see them there at the funeral, they can be crying. That's the difference. It's once they let go, once they lose what they didn't realize they really needed, or didn't really necessarily need, but really wanted in their life. When you lose something, it hurts. And I find that to be almost like a good way of forgiveness is just letting go, holding back, pulling back on someone. Instead of trying to go in the tug of war and it's like you guys are both tugging on that rope as hard as possible. Just let go. Just surrender. That's the best way to do it. It's submitting.
And your section is next. Yours is the no. I love your section also.
And going based on I find that, I guess actually leading into that, I could go off of forgiveness. It's from expectations is that we tend to get hurt. I mean, especially with the people, I mean, you see it in people you love and the people that you're not really too close with. It's like you have more expectations for someone like a, partner or a parent or a family member more than a friend or even a stranger. Mm-hmm. So it's like when one harms you, it's kind of like you could let it go after a little bit. But then when a partner or someone like that harms you, it's a lot harder to. Mm-hmm. It's because of those expectations, and there are good and bad expectations. But it's all right to understand that you are allowed to claim that feeling of betrayal, and that is what's going to lead you into forgiveness. And going on to mine, it's learning how to say no. And I see first thing it says is no is your friend when it comes to embracing simplicity. In fact, no, it is your friend when it comes to implementing most of the lessons on these pages that are stirring within you. Most of us know we need to get better at saying no. So I'm not going to wax lyrical on the subject. And I just want to go based off of that little bit there. Saying that no is our friend is also no is our enemy, especially for people pleasers. I don't know if you guys are. I know I am sometimes. It's like he says, no is your best friend, but you can't say no if you don't know how to. So it's almost like, how can you do something when you can't even comprehend it? It's like those expectations that we have on each other. It's almost like the weight of the world is on our back and we can't handle it. And that's what crushes us. It's the ability sometimes to say like, no, I can't do this. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't do this. And we quite typically think with other people, when we say no, our first thing in our head, I guess it would be the liar actually, whispers in our ear, they're going to hate you for it. They're going to crucify you for it. And it's like, I mean, maybe some people will, but not everyone. Everyone is different, and there's always going to be a different outcome from what you expected. And if they don't like that no from you, then whatever. It is what it is. You move on.
This could go in so many directions. It's so funny because I said to your mom earlier today, I'm like, wow, this is the first section that didn't really bring me back to my grief. But now it did, because I remember I really in the beginning, physically, I struggled to do a lot of things, especially going to social places. So if I would get invited to something, I had this rule. I would say yes to everything because I always knew that I could bail. It was a weird thing that I got into. I was like, if someone would be like, oh, hey, you want to hang out next Wednesday? I'd be like, yeah, definitely. Not definitely, but I'd be like, yeah, I'll hang out. And I always knew if the day came and I didn't feel up to it, and I probably bailed more than 50% of the time, but it was just easier for me to say yes. But I knew if my yes was yes or my no was no. And it was just as simple as going to different places. I knew I couldn't handle it. Or even if my yes was yes for an hour and then I left and came home early, but it was really discerning how I was going to be able to make it through, because social events were really, really hard for me for a good 6 months.
I would say it's the same way that you could give someone your yes, you could also take it away. I want to say that's what no really is. It's the taking away or not giving a yes. And we could also do that with God. I mean, I know I have quite a few times in disobeying, but it's he tells you to do something. And it's you give your yes to some things, but you give your no to others. You kind of take it away, and that's all right. But it's an understanding that that's probably not always going to stay the same. there's always going to be like, I feel like with God, I've always find myself stepping out of my comfort zone. Like I always find myself almost growing in that, social place, I guess you want to say. Like presenting in class. I used to like stutter badly. I'm not even gonna lie. I used to be like petrified of like talking in class, and it's like I've slowly gotten better at it because I know that's not my identity. My identity doesn't rely on how well I talk in class.
Yeah.
But it's also an understanding that a no from God it doesn't always have to be, like a no, not yet, yes situation. It could also be like the no when he closes one door, stop looking at that one door, just turn to the next. Because there is multiple doors. We're always in hallways filled with doors. That's what I'm going to say. It's almost like an endless hallway filled with doors. And when one closes, best thing you could do is just wait for the next to open.
I can actually see a video game. Sorry. Yeah, it was like, seeing like playing a video game and like trying to get through one way and you don't realize, and you're like, you have to turn yourself around. And then when you turn around and you realize that, this one no doesn't mean that there isn't a whole other world of possibilities. And I think a yes and a no is a boundary. And I think boundaries get moved forward and backwards, closer to yes, closer to no, and always like somewhere in between. So yes and no is not always black and white. It's like, it can be in that moment, but it can change many, many times over.
And I think how you started with the idea of people pleasing, I think that is where the boundary gets so confused at times, because sometimes you just don't want to say no. It's like somebody asks you, and it could be something as simple as like going out or something like that. And it's like, oh, I really don't want to go, but I feel like, they're going to be mad at me, or this person's not going to. And I think that sometimes, yes, it's true. Sometimes the people might be disappointed or upset with you for the no. But I also think that sometimes that's an illusion. Sometimes I think that the people are like, okay, like no big deal. But I think he really did in that section. He talked about the yes versus the no. And I think that he was basically saying your no to certain things is choosing yourself. And we need to get better at I hate to use that word, but self-care. We need to get better at looking at what's best for us. Like, I mean, there's been so many times that I've felt pressure, or even like I know my own kids sometimes, like if they ask something or I ask something and then they don't give an answer, a yes, if it's a no, I could see like, are you mad at me? Mm-hmm. And it's like, sometimes maybe if I asked you to clean something and you didn't, then yes, I am mad at you. But if it's something that is not significant like that, your no is not gonna, like, no to boxing. I mean, I could remember when you were young, if I was taking you to boxing, I'd be like, oh, are you up for boxing tonight? And sometimes I honestly think you went to boxing to make us happy, and I don't think you wanted to, or to make your coach happy, or to make your friends happy. I think there was always that thought of like disappointing other people, when maybe the no was what you wanted to give, but didn't want to because you didn't want to upset anybody. And I think we all do that. And that's like a small example, but I just think saying no for your own self, I honestly think people struggle with that. And I think it's a huge gift when you learn to do it.
I think it's almost like I'm not your savior. That's my mentality sometimes with people who constantly, harass me and stuff like that, like for answers. No, I'm just kidding. But like, if people like are harassing you and it's just like, I can't be your savior. I'm not the one who's supposed to save you. And it's almost like, of course I'll help you. But there's a difference between helping and being a slave.
And being taken advantage of.
It's almost like, I want to serve, obviously. I want to help people. That's what I believe as a man of God I would like to do, because I find that's where I could find my love in. Mm-hmm. Because it's like being able to help others, it makes that warm, fuzzy feeling in my heart. I don't know if you guys know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you do. But it's almost like...
We are teachers.
I
don't know if my students would agree with that, but
like that crazy woman it doesn't get warm,
Grinch.
fuzzy feelings. She is the Grinch who stole fun.
Stone cold.
Sorry.
I think it's almost
You
like
wanted Poco, and now we got it.
I don't even know what I was saying.
I'm sorry. It's my
Oh, well.
fault.
Just cut this part out.
I think there's a pressure. I think there's
Yeah.
like, it's like almost like an illusion of pressure too. That's what I was hearing when you were talking.
Me too.
Is it my illusion of pressure that I'm putting on myself,
Mhm.
but that I believe those other people are putting on me? And it's like, I think you're convicted when you're supposed to do something in terms of maybe it's doing something for somebody that you don't really want to do, and it's like, I think there are times where that it's actually going, like it's taking from you, and then there are other times where you're maybe just being lazy or you just want to be a little selfish. And, it's like, I think we all know the difference. And I'm not sure if he says it in this book or not, but he definitely uses this multiple times. He says we're not human doings, we're human beings, right? So it's like, again, I just think there's a boundary of yes and no for certain things. And when you feel convicted, like something is not going to serve you well, whether it's doing something with somebody or whatever, I don't know what it is, but then a no is the answer. But if you know it's probably the thing God is asking you to do, you don't always like what he's asking you to do. I mean, I don't always like what he's asking me to do. But if you do it anyway, the result is so much more than you could have ever imagined. The result is freedom. It does really coincide with what you're saying with like slavery. Are we just a slave to our to-do list and to people pleasing, or are we free to do what we need to do to serve us well?
And on that note, I will read to you the next section. I'm going to steal your book.
Oh, do you want yours?
No, I'll just use his. Oh my gosh, I opened up to it.
What a perfect segue to your part.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. My part is called Speak Up. And this is, I'm going to just read it. It says, when we are traumatized, we often lose our voice. If trauma could speak, it would say things like, shut up. What you think doesn't matter. Your voice isn't important. Nobody cares about you. Your pain is irrelevant, and you will never recover from this. Trauma doesn't have a voice, but these are the kinds of things we feel when we are traumatized. So after we've been hurt, manipulated, abused, betrayed, deceived, after we have had our hearts, minds, bodies, and souls broken, learning to find our voice is harder and yet more important than ever. The obvious occurred to me as I began to recover. Good people want to hear what you have to say. If you don't open your mouth, you will never be heard. People can't hear your thoughts or read your mind. If you don't ask, the answer will always be no. If you don't let people know what you need, your needs will go unmet. To need is to be profoundly human. We need to think otherwise. We need. To think otherwise is to go beyond illusion and enter into delusion. We need air to breathe, water to drink, food to eat, to be touched and held, loved and be loved. Opportunities to learn new things and second chances we need. To need is to be human. And life cannot be an amazing experience if you deny your humanity. This is the most tragic way we dehumanize ourselves. So speak up. You don't need to be obnoxious about it, but you will feel set free when you do. And the amazing thing is, the people who really love you want to hear what you have to say. They will be fascinated and enamored.
I love that.
I love it too.
I think it's really hard to speak up for what we need.
Yes, because it means you're like being honest and you're putting your vulnerability in front of people. And it's like, that's a very hard thing to do, to speak your own truth in the midst of like the possibility of rejection. Because if those thoughts are what you're thinking that he was just saying, like, shut up, nobody wants to hear you, you're not worth it, you don't have a voice. If that's what you believe, then speaking is almost dangerous.
I want to say the traumatizing to the point where you can't like speak up. It's almost like you build a house and you block out the sun and now you're just sitting in darkness all day long. It's almost like someday you're going to eventually have to get out of the house, or else you're going to sit inside and you're going to like starve. You're going to starve. You're going to be dehydrated. It's almost like a both end. You need to know how to go into the light and speak up, but you also need to go back into the dark. I don't want to say darkness, but go back into the house and be able to listen.
Oh,
yeah. Again, I feel like it's like balance. I'm back to the yes and the no. The boundary, it's like he says, don't be obnoxious about it. If someone, you ever have something that bothers you that you don't say it out loud. So you're like, all right, that bothered me one time. I'm going to keep it there for later.
Strike 3, you're out.
And then it's like one after the other. And then you're like, "Brah!" Like you like lose it because you haven't admitted it the first time that it bothered you, and then you're obnoxious about it. And then who's going to want to hear you like that? So I think the beauty in speaking up, whether it's to that specific person or whatever, or just anybody, just sharing your feelings, sharing your honest thoughts doesn't build up. Because when you are obnoxious about it, I just think that the true vulnerability, the true message, the true need doesn't really come across like it actually is, because it's so explosive
and abrasive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that I've learned that through the years, that speaking up and just saying like what I think is really important. And like I have two different scenarios in my mind of when I did speak up one time and it wasn't a good way to speak up. And then a second time when I did it in a better way. And this one is years and years ago. Somebody was telling me how to handle a situation with like one of my students. And I remember being like, don't you tell me what to do. Like, I remember like every idea she would try and speak of, I would speak up and I would be like, no, that won't work. Like it was just like this constant like, and she was just throwing different ideas at me, but I couldn't hear her because I just didn't want to. And it was like I refused to listen. And then when I spoke, my speaking up was done in like a very obnoxious way. Like, don't tell me. And her and I have spoken of it like years later. And she still acts like that's not how it went, but it really was. Mm-hmm. I was so obnoxious with her. But then somebody else it was like a similar situation. And this time I like thought about it. I was like, okay, the way that you approach this has to be better. Like you have to approach this better. You have to speak to this person in a different way. And again, it was like just clarifying boundaries. Like, this is how I see it. I see this as my responsibility. I see this as your responsibility. Do you think that maybe like we can have a boundary here? Like this is my role. Your role is this. And the person like was like, okay. And totally receptive, like received the message. The communication was so much better. And the situation, it's just worked out so much better than my frustration and wanting to talk about her behind her back and be like, I can't stand this person. Like, It's just speaking up in the right way at the right time, I think alleviates a lot of that other gossipy drama.
Mm-hmm.
I find it's like communication is the key to a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whether it be partner, parent, to, kid, to, friend, whatever, cousins. It's just always like communication. If you can't figure out common ground, then it's almost like now you're both trying to always fight for control.
Yeah.
Do you ever get so worked up about a conversation that you have to have with somebody and like you work yourself up? Usually I write it in my phone and I read it 500 times, and then it's like the working yourself up, being so nervous about what their responses are. Again, are they going to reject me? Are they going to be mad at me? Are they going to disagree with me? Mm-hmm. What if they disagree with me, Mm-hmm. And then you say, you have the courage to, speak up, have the conversation. You're like, really? That was it? You agree? It's that easy, But sometimes the back ends of what we feel inside just is overpowering what actually is.
And I think also we forget that it's okay for somebody to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think sometimes we get so single-minded in our voice of truth that needs to be spoken that we forget, like, wait a second, they're allowed to have a different perspective than me. They're just as free as I am. And I think once the I want to say, the illusion of all of us have to be exact same people. Like everyone has to see it my way. Everybody has to think of it my way. Once we are able to let go of that and just be like, okay, you don't have to see it the way I see it.
Yeah.
Like you're free to have your thoughts and I'm free to have mine. And I think just that common ground of like, no, I'm going to respect you where you are and not be where you are. And I'm asking for the same in return, I think is a big deal. But I think also what he's talking about is sometimes people don't speak because they don't think they have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's the truth of a lot of people in life. Like they don't feel like they have an actual voice. And I think that was, I mean, I could say that of myself when I was very young. I was always so quiet because it was just, you know, I live in a house with there's 4 kids, you know, my parents are very busy and like I just wasn't the loud type. So I didn't talk all that much when I was young because I didn't really think anybody wanted to hear. And it's not true, but it was something that was said to me like, nobody wants to hear you, but don't even bother speaking. And then that lie gets twisted into like, well, you're just not important, you know? And then sometimes that gets solidified when you're in school.
Mm-hmm.
And then like your friends don't want to hear you. And so I think it's just so important to be honest about those feelings, even if you can't be honest with like the person who maybe hurt you, with like a close friend or somebody who's trusted. And you can say to them like, this is what I'm thinking about myself, you know, give voice to that lie that's in your head and watch it go, because that really is what God is for. You know, he steps into those moments because he always wants to hear you. He always wants to know your heart. He always wants to be there to support you, to guide you. And he wants you to know, like, your voice is never unimportant to me. You have so much value. You're created, like, specially by me, for me,
mm-hmm.
you know? And it's just such a beautiful truth once you start to know it.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
So I think we're coming to the end.
Yeah.
There's that last section. Anyone want to say anything else or?
No, I think that was a beautiful way to wrap it up. I think it's interesting how all of our parts were really about like our relationship with other people.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just speak up, bro.
I love it. And then this is the last section. It's called Change Something. Wow. This is such a good part. So it says, and it starts on page 165. Why are we so complacent, even indifferent about our own lives? Many years ago, I heard a powerful story from a friend in Australia. The story had an immediate impact on me, but it took a bold new meaning during this time in my life. Claire grew up in Australia before moving to the United States and getting married. Each year, she saved every penny that she could to go home to Australia for a month with her son. During that month, she would visit her relatives. She especially looked forward to spending time with her brother, John. John loves his sister and would do anything for her. But year after year, the sister who returned was different from the year before, and very different from the sister he remembered growing up with. After several years, John decided he needed to do something or say something, but he didn't know what. On the last day of Claire's visit that year, he invited her to take a drive with him. They drove around for a while, talking about lots of things, and then John pulled the car over to the side of the road. Turning to his sister, he told her how much he loved her and that he wanted her to be happy. And he shared how he was growing more concerned each year with how her life was unfolding. Claire's eyes began to fill with tears. "You just don't seem happy, sis," he said. "You're less and less a person each year." Claire just sat there as a single tear escaped her left eye, ran down her cheek, and splashed on her thigh just below the line of her summer dress. "You deserve to be happy, sister," John continued, and Claire nodded knowingly. "I don't know what to do or say. I just wish I could help you, but I think this is something you have to do for yourself." Claire finally spoke, saying, "I just feel stuck, lost, angry." "I know you do," John emphasized with her. "Just promise me you'll do something different this year. I know Mom and Dad and your friends all have their opinions about what you should do, but I'm not going to get into all that. Only you can decide what it's going to be. Just change something. I'm not going to tell you what you should change. Just promise me you will change something. Take some time to think about what you need to do and then just flip that switch. Promise me." Claire nodded and cried some more. And now John began to cry too. But the conversation itself had already flipped a switch for Claire. She knew what she needed to do, and a very different Claire returned to Australia the following year. Now it is your turn, and mine. Promise me you will change something. There is no need to be rash or impulsive, but promise me when you work out what it is, you will flip that switch. This is a new springtime in your life. It's time for a new path. Have the courage to make that change, flip that switch, and you will look back a year from now with awe and amazement.
Mic drop.
I almost want to say, it's almost like, how everything can change in an instant. You change one thing and it's like, Jenga, look at Jenga. You move one block wrong and everything comes crumbling down. But it's also like, sometimes that's how it needs to be. Sometimes things need to fall down for you to get back up.
And what a perfect way to end 2025 with that story.
Wow.
We couldn't have planned that better.
Thank you, Jesus. That's the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit.
Yeah. Wow. All
right, tiny miracles.
I'll go first. I had to change the batteries in my door opener thing. I have like the keypad entry. Thank you, James. I got that one out. And so I changed the batteries and the batteries corroded, whatever, the whole thing. I cleaned it out, of course. It's not working now. And I'm so stubborn. I'm like, I'm going to fix this myself. And I couldn't. I was like, whatever. And then a couple of days go by, the keys in the car. It was such a disaster for 3 days. One morning, I think it was Tuesday morning, I left for work.
Speak up.
I know, speak up, ask for help. No. But yeah, I left my house and subconsciously just hit the button to lock it. It locked. I went to work. And as I'm driving to work, I'm going, oh my God, it's working. I don't know. I guess it was a bad connection or something. And so I didn't even realize it was working until I was driving because that's just my natural, push the button, check it, go.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool miracle.
It fixed it. I fixed it, people.
You did. You fixed it all by yourself. And now you spoke up. My tiny miracle is that my Apple CarPlay just randomly stopped for no reason. And I was it was just so annoying. I was like, why did it all of a sudden just stop? And then my husband was like, let me see your phone. And he went out to the car and he was like, you went into your settings and you said never allow Apple CarPlay. And I was like, okay, I never did that, but whatever. It's fixed now. So I'm just happy about that. So my Apple CarPlay is now fixed.
My tiny miracle is just getting to have hot cocoa all week. We have so many little pods of it and it's just so nice to have hot cocoa.
I love it.
Me too.
I thought there was going to be a third technology one, but we
Hot
both
cocoa
had
works.
technology, tiny miracles. Anyway. All right, guys. So, we're going to finish the book next episode.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if you're not reading, that's okay. But if you are, we're going to read the last 13 sections of it. And please continue sharing your own reflections, your own connections to our stories, the book. They've been amazing, particularly this past week. I just want to say, well, I know it's a different week for you guys, but just overall, they've been amazing. So thank you very much.
Yes, please continue to comment, to share your thoughts, to share your ideas. And if you can like and share the podcast and like it on social media too, that would be really helpful to us. But especially sharing the podcast is great for us. So
yeah, definitely. Pick one person this week and just share it with someone new. That'd be fun.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See you next year, reindeer.
Oh, I love it.
It works.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Oh, yeah. Happy New Year.